Would you like to hear how one guy and a ninja group of 7 salespeople closed 200 transactions last year and $209 million in volume? But wait, there's more. They're already at 100 transactions year to date with $125 million in volume. Brian Ladd in the house, B Money. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Good to see you, Tom.
You too, buddy. So Bend, Oregon. How's the market in Bend, Oregon?
Market's strong, but the market's changing.
Tell us about that.
What we're seeing is a flight to relevant expert brokers. So the transaction volume is down. Inventory issues are leading us there.
Yep.
But I think this is one of those moments. I was talking to my team the other day. We're kind of back in that February, March 2020 era, where everyone's like, what's
happening, right?
And those are those moments I'm like, guys, this is an all-in moment because the market's unsure. And when I have conversations with agents, they're confused and no one's delivering a clear message right now. And I think now more than ever, we're relevant in the market.
Yes.
So, anybody could put a sign in the ground and sell a home a year and a half ago or a year ago.
Sure.
And there was more inventory, there was more absorption, there was more clarity on the direction that it was going, and it's changed. And so I think that we're really leaning into this moment.
So I'm stoked to have you on the show because unlike some of the team leaders, right? It's kind of bifurcated, right? There's people that produce and there's people that don't produce.
Yep.
I see you as kind of a Tom Brady with 7 wide receivers. Like you truly are the rainmaker of the business. We want to unpack some of that today. But I want to start first with a lot of your friends have now 17 agents, 70 agents.
Yeah.
You are intentionally, like you keep it tight. I don't want to say small because you guys are killing it from a per person productivity standpoint, but you're intentional about the number of people. So for the person that maybe is thinking about building a team or they have a team, talk to us about how you got here and what your process is.
So when I went back or when I had the moment I said, I want to create a team around myself, it started with volume capacity. When you're doing $60, $70 million a year on your own, you have capacity issues. But when I went to create the team, I had to look myself in the mirror and said, who do I want to be as a team? Is it in me to go add 20, 30, 40 agents? If I were to put a sign out in our market tomorrow saying, hey, we're welcoming agents, I would do my own brokerage, whatever, I could have a stable full of talented agents, no problem. But when I said, I had to be honest with myself. I said, am I relevant if I add that many agents? Am I going to be able to create opportunity authentically for that many agents? Am I going to be able to have that cultural commitment to the team with that many agents? And there are agents that can do that. But when I looked at my market and I said, hey, I can be successful within this 100,000 person metro area. And there has to be a saturation point. And so I said, the niche that I want to be as the knowledge broker that's deeply committed to this town, what's the model that works best? And I very strategically chose this SEAL team model, but we're relevant. Our average volume per agent right now is $29 million.
That's bananas.
Well, I think it's pretty good.
About $1 million average sales price. I mean, 29 transactions is a lot of business, especially when you're talking about a team, right, in your marketplace. How many agents are in the greater or serve the greater Bend, Oregon marketplace?
It's insane. So we're at 3,000 agents for a 100,000 person town.
Yeah. And how many transactions would be done in a typical year?
Well, so we have about 4,500 home sales. And then you include land sales, whatnot on top of that, we're probably mid 5,000s transactions.
And in terms of the MLS ranking, where do you and the team stand?
Number 1, by a long shot.
Okay. So we're talking about, I mean, again, and I know, there's you guys, and then there's a whole bunch of other players that are serious players in the marketplace.
Yeah, there's some great.
And then there's probably, and I'm just guessing, 2,000 of them that are basically fighting for scraps.
Completely irrelevant.
Right. So very typical, most MLSs.
Yeah.
So the one thing is you're very selective. What does it take to be on your team? Who gets in, who doesn't?
Well, so if I had one lesson of kind of going back, and I have had very little turnover. I've been blessed with very little turnover, and the only people that have asked.
And you went through a rough spot for a while there. We might want to unpack that.
Yeah,
I'm bringing you back to one of our early conversations.
Sure, and and that was kind of probably where I really decided what I wanted to be, because at the end of the day, I don't want to have a full-time recruiter and a full-time onboarder and an offboarder and all that, and so. I had to go to my skill set and said, okay, what do I really want to build? Do I want to spend my time creating all these systems for onboarding, offboarding, training, or do I really want to bring in people that are there for the right reasons? And so when people join my team, it's the biggest lesson that I've learned is they have to be deeply committed to the team structure. And what I do in exchange for that is I am 100% deeply committed to them. And so I believe that people leave teams for the same reason they join teams. This is the mantra you've been preaching for years. And if my commitment is that I'm 100% in on them and that I'm sleepless at night unless I have enough opportunity for them, that they're only going to want to leave the team when that commitment goes away.
Right.
And so
so how do you find someone like that though? Like you got to kiss a lot of frogs, sort of metaphorically, I would think.
Yeah.
To find someone that like you and I run at a very different level, right? Like we're, there's like good, great, unstoppable. Like we're kind of in that unstoppable group of people, like whatever it takes.
Yeah.
How do you find people like that? Or is that even the model? Are you just looking for great?
Well, no, so I have unstoppable great people on my team, but very different skill sets. So what I am is 100% business creation, opportunity creation, lead creation, relevancy creation within my market.
Right.
And the exchange that I need on my team is the ability to continue that story and to convert and close. And so what I can promise my agent is they have more than enough at-bats.
Yes.
They're getting put in that rotation and they're getting big at-bats. They're getting my neighbor's at-bat. When my trusted neighbor who's been friends with me for a decade said, I want to sell my $3 million house.
Yeah.
I say, great, Aaron.
Yeah,
go
take
for
care
it.
Of this.
And they have to be able to maintain that equity and be able to convert and perform on that. But they don't have to do the work of getting those at bats. They just have to be able to take that swing.
So like you're running the PGA, or you're the it's like you are the Tom Brady, right? Like just catch the damn ball.
When I throw you
the ball.
Can you tell my wife that?
Yes, Giselle. Yeah. Yes. But I mean, think about it. Like, again, there's so many different team models, and that's the beauty of sort of our ecosystem. There's all these different ways to do it.
Yeah.
The big thing I hope is you're listening to this. I hope what you got is he decided how he wanted it to be based upon you.
Yep.
Right? What matters to you. So one of the things I know about you is you've always sort of been aligned with me on business is math.
Yeah.
So the other side of this is like how you manage your people.
Yeah.
So one thing is it's clear you generate opportunities for them, and the expectation is you got to close.
Sure.
Right? You got to take it over the finish line. How are you measuring that? How do you know when they're effective?
Well, so obviously track and measuring is everything, but we are not as much of a visual scoreboard conversion team as one might expect. Sure. And that's we have meat on the bone. And what's interesting is as I meet all these wildly successful agents through your ecosystem, we all have our soft spots. Right. And if you and I were to say, hey, let's turn the table and pick you apart a little bit, you could have me crying in 10 minutes.
For sure.
But
all of us.
So we need to work on that a little bit. But business is math, and the way I track it is, from a 30,000 foot view on my business is structurally, what is my break-even point? And I ask a lot of agents that I'm like, what is the break-even point of your team? They're kind of unsure of that. Yeah. At what point is it not worth running a team? And most agents can't answer that for you quickly. Yep. I also understand my variable and fixed expenses. And
you're speaking my love language right now.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like, hey, this is business, and how much are you spending variable and mixed and fixed? And then, I guess that boils down all the way to my farm. So my farm is that I've got, I'm doing $250 million in sales a year in 800 homes. And I understand the conversion within that farm, and I understand that I have to be absolute saturated market. I want saturation marketing within that, and why expand beyond that when I can do $250 million of sales in an 800 farm? And we study the conversions and ratios and all that within that farm.
So your break even, like when we talk about like net effective salesperson, like hey, you have to do X amount of transactions or it doesn't really help us around here?
Sure. So the cost to entry, to answer your question, for my agents is $10 million a year. But my average volume on my team right now is about 30 million.
Yeah. So let's talk. You started talking about the farm, and I'm sure a lot of people's ears were like perking up, like, whoa, $250,000 in sales at a farm of 800. Why don't you have 8,000? Why don't you have 80,000? First of all, there's not enough people in your town, right?
Yeah.
But let's go super analytical. There's one person listening right now, Brian, that is like, been buying online leads. We work our sphere. We're doing open houses. We've got all these different ways, but man, farming, like as a team, really?
Yeah.
Like you, Timmy Smith, Josh Rubin, Andy C. We think Jill Biggs, a bunch of you kill it in your farms. How many homes are in the farm? How long have you been doing it? And then what tactics and campaigns work to be that relevant go-to agent of choice?
So to answer those questions, I've identified, so I have a larger farm that I tend to monthly. That's about 4,500 homes.
Okay.
But my real farm, this is the home plot that we take care of on a daily basis. There's no weeds in it. Is 800 homes. And I've really honed in on that over the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
It began with a project. I was fortunate enough to earn a resort community project where I took over developer sales down in the downturn in 2010, 2011. It was toxic. No one wanted to touch it. It was an incredible community, prime for a comeback. And I was able to sell 350 home sites in there. And then, I was immediately relevant. And
Yes.
I always, when people are asking me, what should my farm be? It's like, where are you relevant? Where do you
Right.
live? Where have you had
Right.
the most dominance, et cetera?
Right.
And it expanded from that. But it's this swath of west side of Bend of about 4 or 5 upscale communities. And, our tactics in that is probably best described as absolute saturation marketing. So not only, we're huge into mail, but this is not the just sold postcards. This is something of value arriving in their mailbox every single week. Something that was carefully thought out, that was very strategic, that has a call to action, delivers value to them without seeming too cheap or asky.
Give us an example. I understand all those words, but I'm creating in my own mind what I think that is. So tell me, give us an example of in a month, we might discuss this topic. You might hear information about this, or you might read about that, or am I off base in even that?
No. So it is. We have a whole calendar on there's a yin and a yang to it.
Sure.
There's a little bit of hey, this is what we've done. This is how we do it. This is how it benefits you. But a lot of what we do is education based. And so my relevancy and what I'm shooting for is absolute market expert within the community. And I hang my hat on that, and we do that for them as well. We do a lot of market updates. I do a lot of video market updates. I do a lot of print market updates. I do state of the markets. But our state of the market isn't a few data points. It's a trifold that goes out. What's 3 times 8.5? It's 19 inches
Right.
of beautiful stats on what's happening in the market. How does the national economy tie into this? Does the economy play into housing? How do recessions play into it? Et cetera, et cetera. So, obviously a certain demographic is going to respond better to that.
Sure.
But then what I do is I tie all my marketing, I bifurcate, I segment that up into a bunch of different pieces and create lots of different avenues back to that through my print and my social and, all those online channels as well.
It's so, for the person that's listening right now, you might want to go to my YouTube channel just to watch how animated he is as he's describing. I could see you what was that? The movie with the genius guys, he's just pulling numbers from the sky. That's what I just saw right there.
Yeah.
It's this huge giant piece with all these different correlations. So just to be clear, absolute market saturation means weekly, just sold, how we did it, which, we've been, stop just doing just listed and just sold, do case studies, show people how you show them your process.
Yep.
So it's not just we hit enter in the MLS and we got a great price, right? Market education, I think is key. If you want to be the knowledge broker, you have to do that.
You have to deliver.
How often, if I was on your YouTube channel or if I was on social, anywhere, Facebook, Insta, whatever it may be, how often am I going to see these market update videos or content like that? Because you mentioned off camera, you don't do restaurant guides. You don't do around town. You do the real estate business and the market.
Yeah. So I don't do TikTok dances.
Yes.
But what I do.
Hey, team, we got to get him on TikTok and get him dancing just for fun.
Yeah.
Just playing.
But you're right. But what I do is I deliver value monthly. So what I do is one big market deep dive every month. And this is the stats of the market, what's happening. And then I have an amazing marketing director who she cuts that into a bunch of different pieces so that probably every 3 to 4 days, at least once a week, we're cutting pieces of that, buyer tips, seller tips, how to be relevant in this market, what's going on, et cetera. So it's coming at you quite a bit, but it doesn't mean that I'm on video every other day. It's we have a couple days a month where we go really deep, film all of our video and go from there.
It's what most of the best are doing now. One day, get it all done.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time, I'm a real estate agent selling houses.
Yes.
Right? Call me crazy.
And the other thing is this gives you legs though, because when I'm putting out video content every 2 or 3 days, everyone thinks I'm working 24 hours a day.
Of course.
And that perception is out there. So we definitely work hard, but that video has legs. And the other thing that I do that we haven't gotten to yet is my relevancy within the market and where I found that my skill set can best deliver leads and opportunity for my agents is becoming relevant on a bigger scale. So what I've done is really leaned into the town and issues affecting it. So housing affordability, a huge deal for most towns, and agents shy away from it. They have a target on their forehead. Everyone blames the realtor. Everyone blames the developer. And I was like, let's address this. So I've dove deep. In my podcast that I do, I've interviewed the housing manager for the city of Bend. I've interviewed the biggest developers. I've interviewed the homeless, one of the homeless charities. And so I address those issues head on. One, to build respect for our profession. I think a lot of people shy away from having those hard discussions, but it creates relevancy for me within the community. And I always don't have my hand out when I'm out talking to my clients. I'm delivering value. I'm giving back.
You have your hand out, but you're handing them something.
Well, yeah, but I'm trying to help solve some of the bigger issues in town, and it creates relevancy. So I'm part of the conversation from a different angle and say, yes, I agree. Housing's too expensive.
Right. How
are we going to address this? I understand that growth is tough. How are we going to thread that needle and create the community that we want?
How long ago did you start your podcast?
So I started it just before COVID. Okay. It stumbled and I took about an 18-month hiatus and I've got back on it. But we're about 10 episodes in right now.
Good.
But we're getting thousands of organic listens in a town of 100,000 people. So
I think everything points back to the word that you've now said 15 times, relevancy. Why is relevancy so important? And for the person that's listening, like, what do they need to be thinking about? Because obviously someone listening right now is going, I want a business like that.
Yeah.
I want to be Tom Brady and have 7, Gronks that I'm just throwing touchdowns to over and over again. What does that mean, relevancy, and how do we create it beyond what we've discussed already?
Well, there's no faking it. It's, it's authentically who you are. Do you want to be relevant? Do you want to be deeply committed to those issues? And I did. And I figured that if I'm out there to serve the real estate community and to serve our community in general, there's no better way for me to do it than through this industry. This is what I understand. I grew up on construction sites. I understand housing issues. I understand system development issues, and I can add relevancy to the conversation. And by doing so, I can help serve people in real estate, and that's the byproduct of it.
Right. But you also become known for more than just a quarter billion in sales.
Yeah.
And look at all the success. But you're like rolling up your sleeves in the trenches, helping to solve some of the fundamental housing issues.
Yeah, and it's you do good by doing great, you do great by doing good, or whatever the saying is. But I think it's more rewarding for me, and it has legs.
Yeah.
Because I've reached that point in my career. Commission dollars don't excite me.
Yeah.
What excites me is helping my agents grow, helping them create a financial plan where they're going to be able to retire and create wealth for their family.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I want to serve the community. Yeah. And for me, it's not about politics. It's not about these other things. But I think that I'm very myopic, but the lens in which I see the community, I see ways we can solve problems. And it's mutually beneficial. It makes me relevant, and it makes, provides trust of people working with me.
Could you be the mayor?
Possibly, but I don't want to be.
Yeah. Today.
In this world, there's absolutely no way.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe in a future state. State.
What's funny is,
but did anybody else hear that pause? Anybody?
No,
yes,
no.
My team was
No, someone joked with me the other day and asked me to join city council, and I'm like, no. There's always a piece of ego that you're like, do I want to scratch that or not? But I love my kids. I love my family. Yeah. And one of the reasons I've chosen the model that I have as well is that I could probably make more money with a different model with more supporting staff, less agents, however I want to do it. Sure. But it would be a time trade-off. And I look back, and my son is now 15 years old, and the first 10 years of his life, I was all in. Mm-hmm. And I have 3 kids, and they're all wonderful. I'm deeply committed to all of them, but I'm already looking at him, and I'm like, I'm in the 8th inning for that chapter of his life. Yes. And I'm like, gosh, first through the 7th inning, I was pretty distracted. And so I've made that commitment and be like, I'm all in on my kids, and there's no amount of commission dollars that will offset that commitment.
The whole highest and best use, Brian, and how many people I talk to that, even through the last 24 months have finally said, time over money.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'll trade more money to get more time, to get more freedom, to be, when you and I talked, and you were like, literally like, it's a ski day, and I got 5 minutes, because then I'm going right back out on the mountain with my, right? I was like, yeah, right, exactly. Like hang up with me and go enjoy yourself.
Can you believe I turned down a call with you to go skiing with my daughter?
I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But how, for the person that's listening to that, there's the one person listening right now who is, and I say this with love and respect, they're a control freak.
Yeah.
Right. They're like, but nobody else can do it. And I tried to hire somebody once, and they were horrible, and I hated it. And they, the dog bit me, therefore all dogs bite.
Yep.
Help that person.
So you got to release yourself from that. And
how?
When you've got to admit you're not the smartest person in the room. There's a lot of hidden talent. You may be the most charismatic. Mm-hmm. You may be the biggest visionary, but if you think you're the best at every aspect of your business,
an MLS listing,
you are absolutely the pinch point in your business. Yeah. And when you can trust the outcome of the people that you've brought on board, you have to look. And if you don't trust them, they know it.
Right.
And when you fully trust them and allow a screw up to happen, or a delivery of a message, or something that you wouldn't have done, but you still stand shoulder to shoulder with them and say, you text them on the side and be like, this is a crap show, but I've got your back.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'll take the arrows for you. Let's learn a lesson from this and go on.
Yeah.
You have them for life. Yeah. And if you can take the slings and arrows for your agents, but to go more relevant, or to go back to your question of how do you remove yourself from that, it's just about finding the right people that you trust. And when you remove yourself from that and go do the ski daughter with your day, you're going to find out that some business gets done without you, and new ideas. And only when you give them the room to kind of foster and create their own ideas and run with it, that's where you're going to have real growth. And all of a sudden growth starts happening without you, because you've empowered them. But if you're the top down, hey, I'm everything to everyone, and you do this and you do this, you do this, you're going to get 30% outcome from those people, because they're now doing your to-do list. It's not theirs, and they're not inspired to do it. But if you can kind of empower and cajole and inspire and support,
lead,
and just kind of that servant leadership, and come, what I've learned is my biggest value is to go do yoga, go do a mountain bike ride, and come into our meeting fresh and full of energy, because I'm contagious for that 2 hours.
Yes.
I am creating opportunity by entering that room with that mindset. Yeah. But if I come in there burnt out because I'm trying to do every aspect of my business, I can just feel the energy leave the room as soon as I open that door.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at you. Yes. I'm just going to say yes.
Yeah,
okay. One last question. How do you manage your team? Or maybe, let me ask you differently. If I'm on your team, what's my role? What do I do every day?
As an agent?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out at what level I address this, but it's really the continuation of who we are as a group to the opportunities that I have. Mm-hmm. I don't have a mandate of number of calls. I don't have the mandate of conversion. What you have as a responsibility on my team is to meet the opportunity that's put out in front of you with the importance that it deserves. And that can mean a lot of different things for different agents on my team, whether they're listing focused or buyer focused or project focused. But it's more of a cultural commitment than it is a specific number. And I know that sounds soft in a business of measuring numbers.
I actually, listen, I had an adjunct COO who was the youngest senior executive at UPS, who when he retired, he went to become the third base coach for free at his alma mater.
Okay.
Because all he really wanted to do was play baseball.
Sure.
Right. And he told me the story once, and you've heard me tell this. He said, I'm a freshman. I'm on the team. I'm sitting on the bench. The coach comes out, tells us what we need to do, and everybody jumps up and runs as fast as they can.
Yeah.
And he's like, running out as fast as he can, right? And
yeah.
every day running as fast as he can. And he finally turns to me, he goes like, hey man, like, why do we jump up and run as fast as we can? The guy goes, I don't know, man. This is how we do it around here.
This is the way we do it.
So is that just your cultural, like, B-Lad hands you something, you got to get over the finish line.
Yeah.
Like, it's just how we do it.
Yeah. And what I talk to my agents about is just towing up to the start line or meeting me at the 50-yard line.
Right.
What I can't keep doing is I can't keep walking to the 50 and you're not there and walking to the 40 and go find you at the 30 and pull you back to the 50.
Yeah.
What I have to be able to do is say, okay, here's opportunity. I've worked really hard to create the credibility to have this as an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Run.
Right.
And I'm going to trust you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to do whatever I need. But then we're going to reconvene in a week and we need to tow up at the same line.
Okay. That's what I wanted to get to. So what is there has to be some follow-up.
Sure.
I mean, it could just be, like, hey man, where are you at with the Smiths?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But how do you do it?
So, we've got weekly accountability. We have our weekly meetings and
that's big.
Yeah. It's tough to do. And the cultural buy-in from the team, it's always a dance.
Yeah.
Because no one wants a job.
Yeah.
No one wants to be told what they, have to do on a daily basis. Because if they did want a job and they did want daily accountability, they wouldn't be an agent.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the nature of the beast of how you inspire and get them to own it for themselves.
Right.
And so some of it's behind the scenes, come to Jesus, let's go get a drink at 6 tonight. What's going on with you? I can see your numbers are down.
Yeah.
You've taken a couple trips. Where's your head at? And some of it's that, some of it's public, some of it's, but generally within the team, it's more positivity than anything. And the come to Jesus meetings are, off to the side of saying, hey, I care about you. Have your goals changed? I saw that you had $30 million, last year and you're at $8 million year to date. Do you not want to retire? What's going on personally? Right. How's the health of your family?
Right.
And so it's and that's what I love about this SEAL team size.
Yes.
Is it can be more informal and it doesn't
and
need to be.
And you could say, let's go get a drink on Tuesday.
Sure.
And it doesn't, it's like 30 other people go, how come I didn't get invited to a drink?
Yeah. So it works for me.
But that's the Tom Brady thing. I mean, like, I nailed that first thing as soon as we started, and I think it was the actual perfect anchor, because all these great, you think of like all the great athletes, all the great business people, right? It's the gal who says, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Something's wrong with you. Let's go in my office. Let's go for a walk. Let's go have that conversation. You're doing that. And therein lies the accountability. Therein lies the culture.
Yeah.
They know that you care. When you say I'm all in, it's not cliche.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. If I become a team of 30, can I do that?
Yeah.
And there's ways for you to do it. There's ways to authentically care. And I think you're the perfect example of this. Who you are right now is the same person as who you are off stage, on stage, and you've been able to maintain that deep commitment and connection with everybody.
Yeah.
But you're operating on level 100. I'm operating down at level, let's call it 10.
I don't know, Tom Brady. You're pretty high up there. Yeah.
That's very nice of you. But, it's not my skill set nor my passion to go do that on a mega scale.
Yeah.
So it works for me.
Right. I think that really is the message of the day. It's like, know thyself, right? Know thyself and then just go out and execute.
Yeah. I mean, my grandfather used to say, compel events to conform to plan, right? And
say that again?
Compel events to conform to plan. And so just make it happen. Right. So much of this is about focus. And one of the big things, and I don't mean to digress, I know you're trying to close up here.
No, go.
Is I had this moment, 2009.
Yeah.
World's a different place.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm transitioning from developing and building to just saying, hey, I want to go all in on sales. I've got 2 kids. I've got one in a crib. I can see the bottom of the barrel for my savings. And I'm like, am I all in on this? Am I good enough? Et cetera, et cetera. And I met with a mentor friend of mine who was a life coach, and he's like, Brian, you're good enough. Like, if you're going to do everything that you say you're going to do, take a deep breath. Like, you're good enough. And I know that's like days back to the Saturday Night Live skit of the guy looking in the mirror and said, I'm good, smiling, smart enough.
Right, yes.
And gosh darn it, people like me.
Yep.
But, you know, it took that. And I would love to express that to the agent out there that has doubt. Because guys, if you're newer to this industry or you're at a moment and you're not sure you can do it, the formula's here.
Yes.
And so much of it is just about delivering and staying focused. Like, if you're going to do all the things that are delivered in this ecosystem, it's not, are you going to be successful? You absolutely will. The big secret is 80% of the people won't. And it's just compelling events to conform to plan and just keep grinding, because you're going to look up every couple of years and everyone that you thought was competition, you look around and you're like, they're not here anymore.
Right.
And you're going to look around and be like, oh, there's a new one here too. They scare me. I'm going to change a little bit. You look down for a year or two, you look back up and they're gone. Yep. And it's just that plodding along day in and day out, year in and year out.
Gritty, baby. Gritty. I'm glad you kept the podcast going. That was awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
Hey, so if somebody wanted to reach out to you and connect, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Our website.
Instagram, website. Yeah, talk to us.
Ben Property Source, Instagram, Facebook, URL.
Yep. BEND Property Source for the people that don't know.
Yeah.
Ben.
So, or just Lad Group in Oregon, you'll find us.
Love it. Love it. So, hey, make sure you connect with him. If you got referrals, you want to go deeper, you want to ask a question, he is like, you can see he is all in. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button. I can't wait to see your comments on every channel that you're at. And hey, maybe send this to somebody that needs to hear, like, you're good enough. Brian, thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate you.
You're
buddy.
everything.
All right. We're out.